You're playing the video, right, Diman Bhai? Mm-hmm. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Airiyanam, Namo Uvajayanam, Namo Loe Savasahunam. Jai Jinendra sabhi ko. Today is our day 7 of the 18-day Paryushan Pravachan lecture series. Today is a special day. Tomorrow is the big Shamapana day for both the Shwetambar tradition as well as the Digambar tradition, because tomorrow is also the first day of the Lakshan Parva. So I'm going to brief a little bit on Das Lakshan today after we finish the junior presentation. So let me first start with introducing today's speaker. Our topic today is Sansar Bhavna. Presenting today is Disha Shah from Dallas, Texas. Disha is 13 years old. She goes to Capelli Middle School West. She's in 8th grade. She's associated with Jain Center of North Texas, Dallas, USA. She likes to participate in Pathshala programs, attend their Asar events, and do volunteer work. Her mentors at home are mom and dad. Her hobbies are basketball, arts, and dance. Her long-term plans are living a Jain way. That's a very good plan, Disha. It's much more important than making a lot of money or accumulating a lot of materials. So good. So we'll move on to you, Disha, for presenting Sansar Bhavna.
Thank you, Baba Auntie, for the lovely introduction. Let me share my screen and let's get started. Jai Jinendra, today we will be doing Sansar Bhavna. Let's get started. Today, what we will be doing is introduction, which is right now. Then we will be doing what does Bhavna mean. Then we will be doing what does Sansar Bhavna mean. Then we will wrap it up with the conclusion. What is Bhavna? A person can do good or bad actions, but it will always start from the thought of that person. It is not the action, but the intention behind the action that results in the accumulation of karma. With this in mind, we should always be careful of our thoughts. We may have negative thoughts, but to make room for positive thoughts and clear out the negative thoughts, Jainism recommends reflecting or meditating the following 12, or known as the 12 bhavna. The 12 thoughts are known as the 12 bhavna. These are the 12 bhavnas on this slide. Out of the 12 bhavnas, today we will be reviewing samsara bhavna. Some people also say it as sansara bhavna. Samsara bhavna means no permanent relationships in the universe. Meaning of the word samsara / sansar bhavna. Samsara is a Sanskrit word that means world. It is also referred to with the terms as transmigration, karmic cycle, or the cycle of birth and death. Sansar is a word in Hindi or Gujarati language, which also means world or universe or existence. Sansar Bhavna is also said as Samsara Bhavna. Meaning of Sansar Bhavna. The troll transmigrates from one life to another in the four gatis, which are human, dev, human, animal, hell, and heavenly. We all have different types of relationships with different people, like our friends or family. The continuational cycle of birth and death is full of pain and miseries. Jainism believes that the relationship we have will always change and not be permanent. Right here, this is the soul. This is when the soul is transmigrating in continuous cycles of birth and death till it attains moksha. This sentence means that our soul, once we die, the soul will keep going in birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, until it reaches moksha. In this precious human birth that we have right now, we have the best capacity to contemplate and meditate on this 12 bhavna. What is sansar bhavna? It is we who establish these relationships and live accordingly in the body, knowing that we are souls and not the body. These relationships will not live for many multiple lives. Relationships are temporary. This kind of thought will help minimize our stop any attachment to other living beings or objects. The soul's goal should be to achieve ultimate freedom from the four gatis, which is liberation or moksha. Let me share an example of how I apply this to understanding in my life. One of my school friends is moving to another city. Initially, I felt sad, but then thinking more, I could understand that all the relationships will not last forever. Instead of being upset, I should accept the fact and not get over attached. Michami Dukram, if I interpreted or presented anything against the Tirthankar Bhagwan's teaching knowingly or unknowingly. And Michami Dukram, right now also, if you can't hear me that well, because I kind of have a cold right now. I would like to thank Jaina and Prabha Auntie for letting me have this wonderful opportunity to present and guiding me through it. I thank my Guru Dev and my parents and all the teachers who have helped me learn Jainism and put it into practice. Thank you all for listening to this presentation. Jai Janindra.
You can stop sharing, beta, now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Excellent job. Okay, very nice. I know you have a cold, but you kept the commitment and you still sounded wonderful. Okay. And it was good the way you distinguished between samsara and sansar and all that. Very good presentation. Okay. Now, before we move on to our senior speaker, since tomorrow the Slakshan Parv is starting, I'm going to give a little prelude of that. And actually, even though it says Das Lakshan, Digambars follow, but really it is not at all sectarian. Das Lakshan Parva is for everybody because it is Atma's 10 virtues. So let me give you a general idea of how many types of festivals are there. There are festivals that are related to some particular persons, like Mahavir Jayanti, Ram Navami, those kind of festivals. Then there are those that are related to specific events, like Holi had a story behind it, Raksha Bandhan has the story, Vishnu Kumar story behind it. So those are related to events. So those kind of festivals are not Anadi Anant because they started after that incident happened or after Mahavir Bhagwan's birth, Ramji's birth, like that. Okay. But Paryushan, also known as Das Lakshan Parv, is Anadi Anant. It started with, in the Utsarpani Kal, what happened is after we are going through the fifth era and then sixth, and then after 49 days of rains, and when the new era starts, I'm not going to go into the tithis and everything right now, but there is a Panchami that is common between the both the sects, that is supposed to be the Uttam Kshama Devas. And then the era begins with the 10 virtues of the soul celebrating that. So that is the importance of it. And Avsarpani and Utsarpani Kals keep on happening. This is a cycle, keeps on going forever. So that is why this festival of Paryushan is eternal. Now, the other thing we want to understand is that compared to the other festivals, these are more exciting because they have to do with going within our soul. They are supposed to generate forever eternal happiness for us. So the reasons why this festival is for all living beings is because everybody wants to be happy. And the way to be happy is to be within your soul. Now, the virtues like supreme forbearance, and these are all seeds of happiness and are themselves blissful. So this was just a basic, very simple prelude to what we will be listening starting tomorrow will be Uttam Kshama and Kshamapana for the Shwetambar traditions. So we'll give you a little bit on that also tomorrow, but this was just a prelude to the Daslakshan Parva starting tomorrow. Now let's come to the introduction of our speaker today. Today we have with us Dr. Shantilal Monot. He is a chemical scientist. He decided to not work after a certain time, so I guess retired technically. Involved in Jain Swadhyay and Education Committee since mid-80s. Also, he was involved in editing the Jaina Pathshala books. He is inclined towards spirituality and spent time with monks in India from a young age. His current style of Swadhyay involves understanding of own soul and Jain fundamentals with thoroughness and depth, mostly through the teachings in the 2,000-year-old tradition of Acharya Kunkund. He was the coach for Pittsburgh Youth Jain Academic Bowl team for Jaina conventions from 1995 to 2011. He has conducted Swadhyay in local and outside Jain centers since about 35 years. He has performed puja during Daslakshan Parva. He has been invited speaker for Mahavir Jayanti, Paryushan, etc. So over to you. You can move here.
Jai Jinendra. So today we are on the second reflections contemplation, third contemplation called Sansar Bhavna. Uh, uh, I will delve right into it. Think of this first. Oh, sorry. Are you able to see my slides? Let me start.
Yes, but you can, do you want to put it on presentation mode?
Yes, I will. Just give me a second. Where is? Play slide. Okay. Are you able to see better now?
Yes, that's good.
So think of us as souls which are bound with this world. We are all mundane bound souls. Somehow we got lucky and we heard the preachings of the omniscient being. And they told us about the universe, how it works, that we are soul. We learned a lot about how everything around us works, causation, how we can become free from misery. As we learned this, some of the things we imbibed, we started thinking about it. This thought process is what relates to contemplation, bhavna, chintan, anupreksha, dhyan, etc. words. They all have some similarity, even though there are subtle differences. And I won't delve into the differences right now, but if anybody is really curious, we can talk later on. So this samsar bhavna and this one in blue was written only to mention to you that if I was a professor and I would have to write with diacritic marks accurately how it's to be pronounced, then it would look like this. But otherwise, people write it in various different with spellings, as you also heard from Disha earlier. So this world we are calling sansar world, or really it's not just world. We are going around in the world, migrating in the world. So it's the transmigratory part. So the reflections, contemplations related to what is the state of our transmigration, why we are unhappy, what is our misery, causes of misery. Having learned from the teachings of the omniscience, we start understanding who we really are, which I presented a few days ago. Who am I? My real existence. And then we think about it more and more, contemplate, solidify our understanding that our cause of misery is our misconception, our deluded understanding, correcting that, and then following the path to become like Jinas, the supreme souls, we can also become unconditionally happy and liberated. That contemplation of those two aspects, that the world is full of misery and how we can get out of it, is the samsar bhavna. Now, these 12 contemplations that you've been hearing from every speaker, junior or senior, over the last 2 days, and today is the third day, there are some things that we have to understand. Why it is important to understand these contemplations, what do they do? Why is it so much that there is so much importance given to this, to the Shravak, as well as particularly for the monks? So these contemplations are mother of detachment. That means they help you produce detachment while living in this world, which is what we do. We need to do that. Why we need to do that? That's important. If we don't have the detachment, then we associate ourselves with something we are not, and that's a folly in itself. And that causes attachment, rag, dvesh, and then it binds karmas, and or we are become miserable. We become miserable. So this 12 contemplations are critical. First component is detachment. So yesterday was Asharan Bhavana. The day before was Anitya Bhavana. This contemplation of impermanence of all the stuff, all paryayas, all the modes. Then because they are temporary, constantly changing, they cannot be a refuge, sharan. We cannot hang on to them and get happy. So today we are talking about this continuation of that thought in little different context. So we're going to talk more about this transmigration. And this contemplation helps all the beings, even if we are not soul realized yet. If we think about it, it'll help us. Jinas did these contemplations before attaining Godhood. So it's not just for us, it's for everybody until you reaching the perfection. And these contemplations are also a sharan to us during our misery. When we have difficult times, if we think about these facts, these are the truths of life, and they will give us solace, a peace to Bhavya Jivas. They are the illuminator of real and ultimate path of liberation. So we, in our Hindi and Sanskrit, we say Tattva Parak, meaning complementing to our otherwise understanding of me and all my surroundings. 7 tattvas, 6 dravyas, etc. And also, how should we progress so that we reach the liberation? They're all related, somewhat subtly different. Capable to produce self-realization. We all understand that our conviction, if it is deluded, then we cannot get on the path of liberation, cannot become unconditionally happy. So self-realization is the first most important step that assures that we will be liberated. Even though before that, there is some other steps, but this contemplations after having understood the truth of life, having determined that that is the truth of life for me, having determined that I am the soul, and constantly contemplating on those during a samayik can help to produce the nirvikalp self-realization, which is the most critical first step in Jainism. It's capable to destroy our pap, inauspicious. We are always in the Artha Dhyan, Raudra Dhyan. Those can be removed. And now I want to mention to you that many of our 24 Tirthankaras, in their first sermon given to animals, humans, and heavenly beings together, included this different bhavanas, 12 contemplations. Padma Prabhu Bhagwan, his first sermon was Sansar Bhavana. Now this transmigratory contemplation, the Sansar Bhavana, many times I write in English because there are some people who may not be so conversant. There are a few aspects we need to understand. The ones in blue are the most critical to understanding only Sansar Bhavana. However, related facts are the spiritual pursuit requires two critical components. I again went over these on my previous Who Am I lecture. The first one is called Vairagya. Second one is called Gyan. They both complement each other, and we mentioned that these bhavanas help to produce Vairagya. But Vairagya, a lot of times people misunderstand. How? Because when you don't like something, that means your rag towards that has, gone. But that is not Vairagya. Vairagya has to be without dvesh, without aversion towards anything. And it has to be neutral. Not liking something is not good enough. Finding that my family and my money is not good enough, is not useful to my spiritual pursuit, is not good enough. But with to them, those things we have to look at with neutral, udasin vritti. So that is true vairagya. With that, the gnan is required of the soul and other tattvas and dravyas. So they complement each other, because when we are learning and contemplating on these bhavnas, our gnan also solidifies. And these two together help to reach our our goal and continue on the path or pursuit of liberation. So now let's talk about samsara. If I ask somebody who went on a train ride, hey, what did you see? They will first give very gross, tool description. Hey, I came across so and so trees and so mountains, or so and so rivers or bridges or whatever. Then, if you think further, they also saw other people that were in the train and anybody who came and went. If you think further, then you can also say, well, this person had certain thought processes, the attachments, aversion, all those things he can think about. Those are a little bit subtle. And then, so that the dravya part means the external. So he thinks of the outside things first to talk about. And so if somebody asks you what is in your sansar, then you will tell my family, my body, my degree, so on and so forth. Okay, I'm a human being. So this is all dravya sansar. What are my good karmas and bad karmas? I have, my body is having this problem, my family is having this problem, all these punya pap related effects. So this is just the gross, obvious things everybody talks about. So everybody will talk about dravya sansar, but the real fact of the matter is behind that there is something else. That is what we need to contemplate on. That this sansar is really full of this transmigratory effect of dukkha. Everybody is in misery because they are in transmigration. In the present temporary moment, you may feel I'm not unhappy, there is no misery, I have everything I need. So that may be true partly, but the point is about the samsara is the transmigration. You have to take a bigger picture. You have to think subtle things, go deeper into it. And that's what you do with the bhav sansar. So what is the cause of this transmigration? Everybody must remember this. There are only three most important things to remember: moha, rag, and dvesh. The deluded disposition, the attachments, and aversion. These are the root causes of transmigration. These are the root causes of everything wrong that's happening to every soul. Otherwise, if these three were not there, every soul should have been liberated and happy ever after, bliss. But so that's the bhav samsar. These are my real samsar. That is the cause of my transmigration, all my dukkha, the misery. So another part of this transmigratory contemplation is that there is really no permanent relationship in the universe. So because everything that I have, we see that it comes and goes. So there is no permanent relationship. So everything operates on its own. If I say I'm happy because I have money, I have family, good children, then freeze that condition. Can you? No, we cannot. Because they all move on their own path. They are separate, independent. We must understand these things in the blue. That is the transmigratory contemplation. Then with all this better understanding, we continue the path of spiritual progress. Now, I went over this diagram. Prabha, is there a way to remove these pictures from the side? Do you see anything?
No,
I removed on mine, but I don't know what you guys see.
no, it's looking just fine.
Okay, good, excellent. So this diagram that I drew and showed last time also during Who Am I presentation, I only want to share the simple part that the most gross things, tool things that we think of, that is me, mine, and my world, are the ones shown on the leftmost. My body, my family, my house, my everything that I own, or what I call in the world mine, we call sanyog. And sanyog means circumstances. They come with the qualifier that it will end. And with these no karma or quasi karma, there is also dravya karma. This is separate. Dravya karma is not a part of me. This other sanyog is not a part of me if I think of me as this pure God soul. Same way, these other bhav karmas, the psychic karmas, the delusion, attachment, and aversion we talked about, they are also external to my soul. That is the most critical thing to remember. My soul is hidden behind karmas, this gross body, and my mode, paryay of this uh, of delusion, attachment, and aversion, etc. All those emotions, they are not based on my true nature. My true nature is like God, with ocean of knowledge, ocean of bliss already built into it, which never goes away, regardless of what state of transmigration I go in. Whether I'm a plant life or a heavenly body or a hellish being, it doesn't make a difference. This is me. All others are outside of me, meaning we try to relate to me by these three coverings. So the covering of karma, dravya, the covering of what you see as me and mine, the no karma, a sanyog, and if you think subtly little inside, my feelings, my emotions, my delusion, attachment, and hatred, my parinam of not based on my soul's innate nature, regardless they are happening around me, in me, in my characteristics, my attributes of knowledge. If it is not like the Kevalgnani, then it is different, and that's not based on my innate nature. So those, I'm not going into the details, but these are the three you have to remember, covering behind which is hidden me, true God soul. So that is subtle. It's not expressed. So we have to learn. That is why we need a proper guru or omniscient being to show us. And but we can, through our mental process of understanding, reasoning, reading scriptures, etc., and finally through experience, we can know, yes, there is, that's me. That is all that's me. All others are not me, not mine. I cannot change any of these. I cannot endure any of these. That ekatva, mamatva, kartritva, and bhoktritva towards all external is a deluding thought, conviction that we must remove to realize our soul and liberate ourselves. So given that, now these four gatis we talked about, the destiny of animal, heaven, hell, and human. And in this animal, actually, we should call it subhuman, and we should include plants and small insects and so forth. Now, what is being shown here is from the book called Shardala, that how there is misery in every single being that is in the transmigration. Don't think that today, because I have a lot of wealth and a lot of good family, I'm really happy. Number one, that is not going to stay. Number two, there is constant anxiety to keep that. That is pain, misery. It needs to be understood. And more importantly, when that vanishes, when our migration goes, soul moves on to some other form, we have no clue what kind of pap karmas are going to come into fruition. And we can see all these beings around us. If they are in misery, we were, and we will be like those, constantly in misery. Just trying to think positive and just say, oh, I don't want to know all these problems, is not going to change the reality. The good, smart person wants to know the truth as it is, as seen by omniscience, experienced by great monks, and taught to us, brought to us, and we can also understand and realize whether you're in hell and even in the heavens. These heavenly beings may have a lot more um, resulting punya, resulting in favorable circumstances. That is true. They have maximum punya coming into fruition, but they are also having problems. They may be looking at another one who has more than them. They have jealousy, and more importantly, when they die, they know that they are going to become something else. Some of them do. Some of them will uh, leave that heavenly, great, happy circumstances and become a tree, plant. When your wealth finishes, you have to come to the reality of without that punya wealth. Okay. Same thing goes on for all beings. There is no discrimination between the beings. All beings are identical. And whatever happens to them, identical meaning in their nature. And then depending on their own delusion or not delusion, depending on their attachment and aversion, how they diminish, their progress in the right way. So we talked about the most critical thing, first thing to remember and remove is the delusion, deluded conviction. So what causes this? Why do we have that? Well, or what are the thoughts that go together with it? Number one, I'm the body. My happiness comes from whatever I feel like, and I can do it. Sensual pleasures, all my five sense organs, mind, things go according to what I want. If I believe in that, then I am deluded. That my punya karmas will help me to destroy the karmas, and then I can also reach moksha. That's a very deluded thought. Okay, and and that I can do things, I can change people, I can change my circumstances. That karta bhav, all these are incorrect, and they need to be understood and removed for taking this first step of removing delusion. And why are we having this reason, conviction? Because in no, other than me, I feel minus, meanness, minus, doership, and endurership. So these are two different ways we explain how this delusion is, and that needs to be removed for progress. So if I had to summarize this samsar bhavana, then under this reflection, one thinks that soul transmigrates from one life to another, takes birth in human, subhuman, hellish, and heavenly body. This continuous cycle of birth, death, and life is full of miseries. He has not yet ended this cycle. There are no permanent worldly relationships like father, mother, friend, or foe. It is we who establish these relationships through our karmas and live accordingly. This kind of thought will help to minimize or stop attachments to other living beings and objects. The soul must achieve ultimate freedom from all of this transmigration. Then only it can be liberated and be unconditionally happy, which is what we all are aspiring. That's why we are doing all this. Now, our Prathamanu Yoga, there is a story of ascetic Mrigaputra. He had dialogue with his family, parents, and he explained all these things. And I don't need to dwell because of the constraint of time, but like that, first I explained that the Sansar Bhavana was taught by Tirthankar. Now I'm telling you how monks also constantly do this contemplation and also preach. Now, this sansar, the misery, full of misery, transmigratory condition of all souls are depicted through different illustrations. We call this transmigration as a deep, dense forest where somebody is lost. They cannot find their path out, and therefore they're going to perish. So, because that's similar to we cannot find the path out of this transmigratory misery and cannot find the path of liberation. So, those of you who have studied this puja of Dev Shastra Guru, in that there is this bhavna, para bhavna. So, by Yugalji, Bhagavan mein ji bhar bhoom chuka, kan kan ko ji bhar bhar dekha. मृग सम मृग तृष्णा के पीछे मुझको न मिली सुख की रेखा. So we have to understand that this universe, we have been existing from time immemorial, anadi, from minus infinity till now. We have been in every form. We have consumed every material that is there in this universe. All that we do is recycle. My body, what we call mine, is going to deteriorate after this after this separation of my soul and body. It will be worth nothing. It has to be burned. But the same matter, particles, the atoms and molecules that are in this body will recycle. They'll go back into this universe and will be in the form of another plant or somebody, whatever, something. Same thing is happening when we eat food. We ate what we consider great food, that becomes excreta, that goes into our sanitation system. It becomes fertilizer, or it goes back into the universe. That same excreta we will eat later in another form. Material cannot be created in this universe. It just recycles. Remember that. Now this bhav is also given another analogy of fire in the forest. If we are in the forest and there is fire in the forest, there's no way out. We are burning. We are in pain, misery, and that is equated to transmigration. So sansar bhavna with this davanal. So even when we do this puja, we do chandan puja and we say sansar tap vinashanaya chandanam nirvapa miti swaha. So we say, just like chandan helps to cool off the body's little heat, similarly, I want to remove this sansar tap, this transmigratory condition, hey Bhagwan, and that is why I'm offering this sandalwood. So like that, then there is something called samudra. That in the literature, I can enumerate many texts where this Mara Bhavana 12 contemplations are discussed. Varasanveka by Kundakundacharya, and then Kartikeya Anupreksha by Swami Kartikeya, by you know from some of the Pandits, Jaychandji Chabda, Bhudar Das ji, Dr. Bharil, and many other great monks have written, or even Shravaks have written. And so there is also one called Bhagavati Aradhana that is written by Shivacharya, Acharya Shiv Muni. And so there it talks about the ocean, Samudra. So how, think of Samudra, we may think, oh, ocean is beautiful. We go to the banks of the ocean and enjoy through our sense organs. But if we have to be in the ocean, we will find out how fearsome it is, what kind of animals there are, what kind of whirlpools there are, and there are infinite number of souls in there, and we will go into that and be in that. So these are all to give sense that this transmigratory world is full of miseries, and we want to get out of it, and the only way out is the teachings of the jinas, and that we incorporate in our thinking. And um, another analogy given is the universe. This transmigration is like a Ferris wheel. This the ever moving, continuous cycle of change. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down. If you look at your condition from where you are in the Ferris wheel, then you will have sometimes result of punya karma, sometimes pap karma. However, if you sit in the middle at the fulcrum of this wheel and then only observe, you're not a part of that, then just become a gyata, not a part of this transmigratory world, then that is the desirable state. Just know it, see it, but don't be a part of this experience. Don't be in the transmigratory world. That is a part of the contemplation. Now, there are many other ways in which sansar bhavana has been explained in the literature. So, first of all, this monkey, he wants to get the stuff out of this. There are many different materials that are used to explain this story, but he got his hand to pull out something he wants, but he cannot get his hand out. But he cannot let the thing that is inside go because he wants it. Same way is our state. We cannot let go of this universe, things that are around us. We want them, we like them, our family, our things, our money. But now, if somebody teaches us, gives us the wisdom, then a wise person thinks about it and say, let it go, let it go. Now, I want to show you how this enjoyment, happiness we get from material, sensual pleasures, because we all experience that. And we think, oh, I'm a happy person. I have no problem. I have nothing. Why should I worry about this spiritual progress, Jain way, Jaina's teachings, and I have to do vairagya and all that gyan. So the great Acharya, the compassionate Acharya will teach us that, look, son, this sensual enjoyment is consisting of 5 attributes which make it no different than dukh. You think you're enjoying it, but it is dependent on, for example, if I want to see something, I have to have good eyes. I have to have a desire to, or if I want to eat something good, I have to have hunger. And so on. It goes. My stomach must be good. I must be able to digest that food and so on. And then whatever we are trying to enjoy, that is subject to not continuity, khandan. Then when we enjoy all these things, because we are deluded, we are having new bondage. In the future, we will be all but nothing but misery. And it is constantly changing. So all these 5 characteristics of sensual enjoyment don't exist in the soul bliss we call psychic joy. It's only by itself. Nobody can give it any obstruction. It's always going to be there, no restrictions, and there is no future bondage, and it stays the same. Therefore, this is desirable, this is not desirable. Now, this universe, this transmigratory contemplation is based on the fact that this transmigration consists of results of sin, pap, or meritorious karma, punya. There is no religion, the soul involved in it. If the soul was involved, understanding and experience of the soul, then we would be liberated. Then delusion will not be there, and we will be on the path to get out of that circle. If you saw the diagram that the junior speaker had, he had a migration in the form of a circle, and he had a way out of that to moksha marg, the path of liberation. So we want to get out of this transmigration, and so we must understand that this pap and punya are not really what I desire. Neither pap, everybody understands, nobody wants. But unfortunately, nobody wants the result of pap, but they only want to keep doing pap. Same way, everybody wants the result of punya, but it's hard for them to do punya. Such a dichotomy of life. We have to think further, fine points. Now we have desires, and they say if you desire something good, but if you have right now fruition of pap karma, nothing will happen just because you desire. You're not going to get it. But if you have punyodaya, the fruition of meritorious karma, you don't have to even desire. It is naturally happening. So we should not be thinking that doership, that I am doing everything. And I explained in the beginning that all other subjects, objects, everything functions on its own. We should just be the observer, knower. Okay, we should not be imagining these asambhav, impossible things, and should understand the true nature of me, my soul, identity, and its infinite characteristics, its infinite knowledge and bliss characteristics, and work towards experiencing those. While we experience, while we work towards it, we must remain neutral with all others. We observe them, no attachment, no aversion. That is the rational way of understanding and thinking. Now, we talked about there is a greater meritorious karma coming to fruition that gives you devgat. When there is less of it, it gives you human gati. When there is a sinful, demeritorious karma coming into fruition, you get subhuman. And if it's too much, then you get hell. But is it true that the more the punya karmas, the more happy you are as a human? Well, there have been a lot of stories that you can learn from that that's not true. Everybody has to go through the miseries. Sometimes when there is more meritorious karmas are coming into fruition, they may not have that much inconvenience. But that is not telling that they are not having miseries coming, or in that current state, anxiety to hold on to those things is also there. And it in the case of religious path, realizing the soul, you don't have any of those because you have no desires to do anything. You're letting it happen. So this transmigration we talked about, which is caused by pap and punya karmas, that we all understand there are 84 lakh, means 8.4 million yonis, the points, places where our soul can take a form of body. Out of these, most of the time we spend will be in nigod, or say ekendriya. And very short time will be all the rest of the mobile beings, the 2 cents, the 3 cents, the 4 cents, the 5 cents, the 5 cents human, 5 cents hellish, 5 cents heavenly, all that 5 cents and 2, 3, 4, 5 cents beings put together is only a very short time in a big time cycle. Infinite long time we will be spending as a plant life, or even sadharan vanaspati kai. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I want to emphasize the point that that is what in the samsara transmigratory contemplation we need to understand, that if we don't take that step and try to come out of the transmigration right now when we have this opportunity, we will have this asankhyat pudgal paravartan time, which is infinitely long time to spend. Out of that, only 2000 sagar. So it's like a drop in ocean. That much is all we will have as the whole time divided between heavenly, hellish, human, and 4 cents, 3 cents, 2 cents, 5 cents other beings, all put together. Very short time. 2000 sagar versus asankyat pudgal pravartan. If this doesn't make us think, what would? This is the truth. Omniscience has seen and told us. We cannot realize this by just experiencing, but this is the truth. Now, punya and pap, Now, in the transmigratory world, we are going in the punya and pap cycle, but both are going to keep us in the sansar. And આ જીવ પુણ્યથી સ્વર્ગ પામે છે, પાપથી નરકમાં જાય છે, બંનેની મમતા છોડીને. So we have to remove this attachment towards punya and the result of punya and only focus on self, soul, if we want to reach this moksha stage. And there is a lot of stories given time I can discuss right now with this limited time. I want to make sure that we understand that a lot of the people we see wealthy, we think they are more happy, but if you go and ask them personal life, you'll find how many of them are really unhappy themselves. You talk to them, some commit suicide, some commit sinful activities to others so that they can follow their desires. And if they so the point being that nothing in this world is going to give you happiness. Now, sometimes people teach us meditation, and our busy life, they want to get some peace. So they learn the so-called transcendental meditation. They don't know what they have to meditate on. They get a temporary peaceful stance, but they're in a hurry. Come on, inner peace. I don't have all day. I have to go and do my other things. So this is that real world. There is no happiness. Now, this transmigratory world has been depicted. If you go to temples, you will see this picture in many temples. Now, this also shows that same situation of the transmigratory person. He is in a human form. This animal is, let us try to understand that this human being somehow was able to hang on to this branch, which the rats are cutting down, meaning they are going to decrease his ayu karma, is vanishing minute by minute, and this elephant is trying to uproot the tree which he's trying to hang on, and so when he sees further, then he's going to fall into the further sinful fruitions coming up. In the meantime, a heavenly body comes and says, "Hey, look, I can take you in my vehicle and take you out of this misery." And during that time, he gets a drop of honey fall on his tongue, and he says, "Oh, I'm enjoying. That's beautiful. Let me just take one more. Just give me a little more time." In the meantime, he loses his time, and such is the state of all of us. And this is explained here that that he did not pay heed to this heavenly being that came to help him, just like our monks, gurus, omniscient beings have taught us. And if we pay attention and not worry about what our current condition is, and then pay heed to our learning of the soul, we can come out of this. Otherwise, we are in the same sansar chakra. And we're going to remain like this forever, miserable without saying. So now I want to mention that this, at the end, that this, whenever we are doing this activities of Dev Shastra Guru Puja, or Dev, we call our Vyavhar Sharan, that why it is and how it is. In a summary, I want to mention that sansar hai paryay mein, nij atma dhruvadham hai, meaning my soul is forever. That is my abode, and this world is this mode that's constantly changing, which is full of misery, whereas my soul is an ocean of bliss. But if I don't look towards my soul, look the opposite way, then this paryay, this sansar will continue. I will continue in the misery. On the other hand, if I look at my soul, my permanent abode, and if I try to follow it, then I will get the permanent bliss. So, so Dev, Guru, and Shastra, those are our abode, our Sharan, when I cannot take Sharan of my own soul. Ultimately, that is my Sharan. And they all teach us the same, that take your own refuge to your own soul. They have done the same. and that's why we worship them. So the last part of my summary is that I also shared this slide of Kriya, Parinam, and Abhipray in the previous presentation. But what I want to do here is provide summary through this, that this nothing in this world, transmigratory world, is worth desiring. Let me say it again. Nothing in this transmigratory world is worth desiring. If you do that, don't even do that in dreams, even in dreams. If you do that, then you'll remain in this transmigratory, miserable world. But on the other hand, if your own soul substance, if you can try to focus on it, then it's worth doing. And the grossly, we always focus on activities of body, mind, and speech. Instead, we should try to observe inside. Am I having attachment, aversion, and more importantly, even deeper, observe, I am the soul. Why am I the soul? Who am I? And all those things. That is the real base without which all these activities of vows and tapasya don't really give the fruit of liberation of the soul. So now this last quote I have here, even if there is an animal and he has this no delusion, he has realized his soul, he's much better, he's more like a human. Whereas a human, if he remains deluded, he's no different than an animal. So just even for a moment, if we will get this delusion-free realization of the soul, then we are guaranteed to get out of this transmigration and reach the liberation and happiness. So this attachment was the key. I want to say that this one monk to the other asking, oh, master, is it proper for a monk to use email? And the master says, yes, sure, as long as there are no attachments. So we have to focus that we don't want attachment. Otherwise, we remain in the transmigratory mode. And attachments can only be avoided if we remove our delusion first. With that, I conclude. Jai Jinendra.
Can you please stop sharing the?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope all of the audience got the gist of this Sansara Bhavana. Basically, if we don't understand the anityata of this world, the impermanence of this world, and that there is no refuge in this world except the Panch Parmeshti and our own soul, that we will be going around and around in this Sansar Chakra. Even the until we get the Samyak Darshan, we are in binding Ananta Anubandhi Karma, which is Ananta Sansar Ka Bandh. So this Sansar Bhavna teaches us a lot of things, that it is not worth wishing because it will only give you more and more sansar. So finding the true self is the only way to happiness and bliss. Okay, all of the audience is welcome to put their comments in the chat box, or any questions or any clarifications. We will go to our question answer session. I would appreciate if as many people can turn their videos on and participate in answering these questions. Your participation is what is going to make this question answer session meaningful. So all of you, please do try to participate. Okay, so question.
Prabhaji, a couple of questions I have not really answered in my talk, but we are going to ask them. That is on purpose to see, some people must already be knowing they can answer it. So let us see how it goes.
Okay, otherwise we can, of course, you can answer them too. All right, so let's see. What do we have here? First question. What is the most important and common theme between Anitya, Asharan, and Sansar Bhavna? the contemplations of impermanence, non-refuge, which is helplessness, and transmigration. And most of the bhavnas will have this one common thread.
That nothing is really permanent in the world except there is no permanence in the world except really for the soul, which is where you have the refuge. And with Bhed Jnana and the idea of no attachment is what you can really rely on with Ragda.
You got that correct word in between there, the idea of no attachment. So detachment is the common thread going to be between all the parabhavnas. Okay. So they all lead to true understanding of self and detachment, which is vairagya, from all non-self, so that one can focus on own soul, which is an infinite and independent source of knowledge and bliss. All right, so we'll go to the next question. Why is vairagya or detachment so important? We've heard already 3 speakers talk about this, why vairagya, why detachment. In each of the bhavnas, we sort of talk about the negatives of the bhavna and why it's important to go to detachment.
That you don't.
It's
Come
the
back
only
to
way to
rebirth.
stop the cycle.
Yeah,
That's correct.
attachment brings rebirth over and over.
That's correct. Attachment brings rebirth over and over. And even though you may think temporarily that, oh, you're happy right now, things are going your way, but we all know nothing lasts, right? So lack of vairagya, what is it going to do? It's going to lead us to have judgment towards everything, makes us have likes and dislikes, which is sort of what we do all day long. Oh, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. Of all non-self, the main source of misery in the transmigratory worldly existence. Actually, all non-self functions independently on its own, so our interference is inherently a fault. So basically what we're trying to say is that even the other things that happen to us, with us, are all supposed to be the way the nature is. And we try to interfere in it by judging, oh, this is not my way. Let me do it a different way. Let me change things. Let me change people. So lack of vairagya will lead us to all kinds of sins. Biggest of which is mithyatva, wrong conviction, which is base of all other conduct related faults. As great sages put it, wanting what is not yours is like prostitution, and other than soul, nothing is ours. So this is a little more detailed explanation that the speaker has given. So let's go to the next one. Recite any familiar verse about sansar bhavana or transmigratory contemplation. There is a couple ones that are very popular, so a lot of you might know those.
I didn't share those because of
That's
lack of
okay.
time, but
I'm sure some of them should know. Is there Harak Bhai? I'll give you a little hint.
Chandra Kumar ji is there.
Yeah, Chandra Kumar
संसार
ji.
भावना बोलिए.
चार भावना का बताइए, 12 भावना में से बोलिए.
बस I don't know first.
दाम से जो शुरू होता है, दाम बिना.
नहीं वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन I think मेरा स्पीकर नहीं चल रहा. Are you able to hear me?
चल रहा है. Oh yeah, we can hear you.
देखिए 12 भावना, और मेरा थोड़ा सा ये है कि अगर अपन इंग्लिश में करते हैं वो जो नीड थी, और आप शांति भाई डिड मार्वलस जॉब, लेकिन वो शब्द जब अपन इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट करते हैं तो थोड़ा सा भाव चला जाता है. अब ये क्वेश्चन आंसर में अगर आप मुझे हिंदी में अगर आप बोलने का ये कहें तो आई कैन डू इट मच बेटर.
ट्रांसलेट कर देंगे आप हिंदी में.
ये जो 12 भावना है, ये एक सबसे कंसोलिडेटेड जो है वो भूदरदास जी की है,
हम्म।
राजा राणा छत्रपति वाली। वो
आपको
मैं,
सिर्फ संसार भावना का बोलना है अभी।
हाँ हाँ, तो वो पहले अनित्य है, फिर अशरण है, फिर संसार भावना। आई
दाम बिना
कैन,
निर्धन दुखी।
संसार भावना, आई मीन, आपने अभी उसका पहला वर्ड बतलाया था ना,
हाँ, दाम बिना, दाम बिना।
दाम बिना निर्धन दुखी, तृष्णा वश धनवान, कहूँ न सुख संसार में, सब जग देखो छान। तो ये संसार असार, इसलिए अब आप देख लीजिए कि यहाँ कोई सुखी नहीं है।
हाँ.
दाम
So
बिना
let
निर्धन
me
दुखी।
translate that in English,
या
Vaisa, because there are some people who don't understand Hindi. So
राइट,
basically, what it is saying is that a poor person is unhappy because he doesn't have the money or material wealth. All right. Now, the rich person is also not satisfied because he wants more and more and more, right? So, because either way, you're not happy. If you have less materials, you're not happy. If you have more materials, because of want of more and more, you're not happy. So, there is no happiness in this world. I have seen the whole world. That is basically the brief thought of those verses.
एग्जैक्टली।
सब जगह देखियो छान means I have tried to search the whole universe. I went and interviewed a lot of people and I cannot find the happiness with anybody, whether poor or rich. That's what. To move on.
We can
Prabha.
take our own examples. We go on a vacation to be happy. And what do we find after a week, 10 days, however long? We want to come back home. Why is that? Because
Yeah.
that's not going to keep us happy all the time. And we've all experienced those kind of, experiences. Okay, next question. Dev, Manushya, Tiryanch, and Narak. Or, wait a minute. How many and which are destinies for us souls that are in transmigration? So I sort of gave away the answer, but somebody can answer it now.
Claudia can answer.
All of them, right? The Dev, Tiryanj, Narak, all where we go through all of those cycles.
Yes. So those are the four,
States
They-
of
Dev, Manushya, yeah. Dev, Manushya,
hell,
hell. And
Hell, heaven.
Narak, yeah.
Yeah.
So these are all because we have to keep going one to the next to the next. And there's no guarantee that you will get one human birth after the next. That there's very limited human births that we get. And liberated souls are sometimes said to be in the fifth gati, but that is not actually a gati, is the sense of, is in the sense of transmigration, because it's really not that's like a permanent abode there. Now, next question. Since unfulfilled desires are the cause of unhappiness, which of the four destinies is ideal for remaining happy and contented?
Oh,
none.
none.
That's correct. Absolutely.
None.
None of them. Because I think he went through his slides and explained how each one has a problem, right? So there's no happiness in any of the gatis.
Even Devgati, the celestial beings, is not desired.
Right, because even though there are some favorable situations, but then there are some, the jealousy, and it's like, think about it. If there's a Chakravarti, or let's take, for example, Steve Jobs, okay? He had all this wealth. Now, when he had cancer, he knew ahead of time that his end is near. And that's a very, very horrible feeling, that I have all this wealth in the world, I have good children, I have good wife, and I have to leave all this and go. And it's similarly in Dev Gati, they already know ahead of time when their end is coming and where they are going. So obviously, wherever they're going is going to be lower than Dev Gati.
They have
So
to come back in the same cycle.
Right, then they are going to be
in the same
less
cycle.
fortunate. So that's a very, very extreme, unfavorable, that feeling is not good. Who am I really? give two most important characteristics.
Gnan.
Very good.
Let someone else give another example, another gun.
Can somebody else say one more?
Darshan.
What are the characteristics of soul?
Anand,
Gyan,
Gyan, Anand, Darshan, and Virya. So Gyan, Darshan. These are the
Gyan
two.
or
Gyan and
Anand.
Darshan.
Very good. So Gyan, Anand.
If Prabha, can I add?
Yes, sure.
So
You
if
can.
somebody asks you only for two most important characteristics, then you must only say Gyan and Anand. Knowledge is what is the most critical one, like I was already said, but experiencing the soul, the experience is the bliss, but who knows the knowledge? So knowledge and bliss, because that bliss that you experience and in the soul experience, nowhere else in the universe you can have that feeling. That's why it's most critical. So if you could, that's why you have Gyananand Swabhavi Hu, that a lot of hymns are prepared with these two key characteristics. So, but you're right, Gyan, Darshan, Charitra, and Virya. These are the four.
Virya,
Yeah,
Anand, Gyan, and Darshan, and
sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
moving on. If nothing other than my soul is mine, why do I have desires for other objects for my happiness?
Because of wrong knowledge, mithyatva.
Mithyat. That's
Exactly,
the
Mithyatva.
like,
I have deluded
self, Sampurna.
what is true.
that's a complete delusion.
Only reason we
Well, somebody
have
else is
the
speaking.
desire. I'm sorry. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we think that we are not complete by ourselves, that's when our desire starts kicking in, and we have a five indriyas, and we look for the subject or object matter to be happy with those five indriyas, because we don't understand the ati indriya anand yet.
Yes.
That's a good.
Also, part of it is
Right.
because this is our habit. We have been doing it from beginning less time. So
Ma'am, can
we
you
all,
it takes some time.
is in Vibhav Paryay? That's the reason we are
Yes.
searching for happiness outside.
That's correct. We are in Vibhav all the time.
but Vivav Paryay is true for all characteristics, or many characteristics. So that you cannot just say Vivav Paryay alone without specificity. The Vivav Paryay of what? Vivav Paryay of our conduct. Therefore, we have wants, desires. And what is the reason for that? Is delusion. What is the reason for delusion? That agnan.
Mithyatva.
No, mithyatva is delusion. The reason for mithyatva is agyan.
Got it.
अज्ञान के कारण मिथ्यात्व के कारण मिथ्या चारित्र, which is desire. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, good point. Okay.
And that is why mistakenly we think that less pain and temporary fulfillment of desire is happiness relative to previous condition. But that is wrong notion, and consequent sensual enjoyment will lead to further sinful karmas and more misery in the future. So that is a big caution that we all need to understand. What are the wrong notions that lead to mithyatva or deluded conviction?
Number one is
Okay. The jeev and the soul are one. I mean, the body and the soul are one.
Okay. Yes, Chandrabhai Saab, bataiye, what were you saying?
the first one is
Yes,
that I am the
main
body.
one. Self-identity is wrong.
I am the body. That's myself.
And then source of
Then the mamatva is bad.
ekatva, mamatva,
Mamatva, kartrutva, and bhratrutva. Four things
Very good.
happens
Very
in a
good.
sickness.
Yes, those four, definitely. And then this misconception that happiness is favorable circumstances, doership towards non-self, and belief that doing good deed to others will provide liberation and lasting happiness. So we covered all of them. Very good. Next question. Which are the three layers of manifestations or substances that unrealized souls can perceive, whereas soul, a pure substance, is unexpressed to unrealized souls?
Quasi karma or no karma, dravya karma, and then bhav karma.
Excellent. Very good. Absolutely correct answer. Next question. What is the transmigration time period comparison between becoming a mobile being, trasparyay, versus remaining single-sensed ekendriya paryay?
Can you repeat that, Prabhaji?
Yes.
2000
What is
Sagar.
the transmigration time period comparison between becoming a trasparyay, that is like the ones that can
Trustee.
move
Moving.
mobile being, trustee,
Mobile.
versus remaining single-sensed ekendriya paryay?
2000 Sagar.
Innumerable.
Absolutely correct. Very good.
Versus 2000
Asankhya
Sagar
Puri.
versus what?
Well,
This
2000
is
Sagar is the one which
8.4.
we get for the Ekendriya all the way up to the Sangri Panchendriya. And then we go back to Nigodh.
Yeah, so Asankyat Pudgal Paravartan versus 2000.
Okay. There is a Pudgal Paravartan, Bhav Paravartan, Karma Paravartan,
Right.
all 5 different Paravartans.
Right. So like ocean versus drop of water, infinite times longer in Ekendriya versus total thrust mode, the mobile mode. So that's a big, so you stay in Ekendriya mode for huge long time. The human
And we
destiny.
all have to, we have no choice. That happens naturally unless you come out of transmigration. Unless we realize our soul, there is no choice but to remain in that cycle. Meaning, spend most of the time in Ekendriya. That is a given. That's a guarantee. So,
And then
this
also
opportunity that we,
we get 24 yonis in a human beings. Out of 8 is a striling, 8 is a pulling, and other 8 is not fully developed type of bodies or the soul, whichever way you want to put it.
Very good.
Okay, so I'm going to finish the next 2 questions because we will be running out of time pretty soon. True or false? Only gati without misery is heaven and maximum misery is in hell.
No.
False.
Wrong. False.
Very good. And why is it false?
Only happiness is in moksha, complete liberation, nowhere else.
Yes, misery
That's
is in
one
all
part of
4
it. Second
gatis
part.
and maximum
And the
misery
second
though.
part is no matter where you are, you
Yes.
can be within yourself and keeps your you keep the body away from it. So once you are a samyak drashti, even though you go back to the different yonis, you still will be within yourself rather than now you have know the technique of keeping the separation of jiva and ajiv, the body and dravya karma, bhav karma, no karma. So you can be happy within yourself. No matter
And
where
still
which
the
yoni you are
maximum
in.
misery within these is in Tiriyan, specifically Nigodh. So we want to avoid that and hopefully progress spiritually before we have to go back to Nigodh. What is the essence of Sansar Bhavna? The contemplation of transmigration. There can be different answers for this one.
But be brief, just a couple of points.
There is no permanent pleasure in this worldly until you are liberated. So sansar, and truly there is none of the gatis or nowhere where you can find a permanent bliss unless you are liberated.
Very good. So mundane souls are stuck, entangled in their circumstances. God's soul nature is the essence of sansar bhavana, that get out of sansar and go into your pure soul.
Yes.
That helps us to liberate and enjoy infinite, natural, psychic joy and omniscience.
Yes.
So, so that sums up our today's
Yes.
topic. And tomorrow we will have Priyadarshana ji back with us. So all please join. Tomorrow our topic is going to be Ekatva Bhavana. And since any questions for the speaker, this is the time we will take if there is one or two burning questions. Otherwise, we will do the Mangal part.
Could we just go through one more time the maths or the all around the different yonis, the where we spend our time, because that really form a lot.
Yeah, let's quickly, briefly do it. We have only 4 more minutes total left.
Okay, I'll take just 1 minute out of that. So the only thing that there is a lot of math, but the only part that I informed today was that in innumerable Pudgal Paravartan times. Now each Pudgal Paravartan is actually infinitely long time. So innumerable number of infinitely long times is really very long time. That's all you take. Out of that, 2000 Sagar is a analogy, Sagaropam is called, is a time period, also extremely long. But only 2000 Sagar out of that Asankyat Pudgal Paravartan is assigned to all the mobile beings. All the mobile beings, meaning you can be like an earthworm, you can be a fly, you can be a snake, you can be a human being, you can go to hell, you can go to heaven. Any of those, and there are many yonis, that is the place of taking the body, form. But that is not what I did not talk about how many yonis were, but only time frame. So 2000 Sagaropam total time frame for all the Tras Jivas, and all the rest of the infinitely long time is for Ekendriya. Ekendriya is single sensed being. And single sensed being means Prithvi, Up, Teu, Vayu, and Vanaspati. And out of them also, maximum time is Nigod. Within Ekendriya, Nigod is the Sadharan Vanaspati, that is like potatoes, onions, and so forth. The time is up. If you have more questions, we can always discuss. You can call us.
Thank you so much.
All right. Very well.
I do have a question. In Jainism, besides the soul, is there anything else that's eternal?
Sorry, I couldn't comprehend the question. What is eternal?
Oh, I asked, in Jainism, I understand that the soul is eternal, right? Is there anything else outside of the soul that's eternal?
Everything is eternal. Listen now. When I say that, I have to explain. In Jainism, nothing can be created or destroyed. Everything exists forever. All the souls, all the atoms. The only thing that changes is the form in which you see it. Meaning the body is made up of infinite atoms. And the composition of that infinite atoms, your body is different than my body, and so on. And this will disintegrate. So all the same atoms in the universe recycle. I explained that word, recycle. All the souls are transmigrating. All the matter is recycled. That's all. Nothing can be ever created or destroyed. Transformation is
it's a transformation. Transformation is a better word.
Right. Transformation is the nature of all.
All the components.
Yes.
The entire. Yeah.
Does it answer, David?
Yeah, that's a very good answer.
Okay, thank you.
I'm from this background, so I'm studying a lot
Sure,
of
sure.
all the.
If you have
Now,
more
just
questions,
like
we can-
Newton said, nothing is destroyed on this earth or in the universe.
It only changes the form.
Yeah.
About
The
one
changes are
unfor-
constant.
Okay, we are running out of
Time is
time.
up.
So I have to, yeah, close this, please.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
Jai
Thanks.
Jinesh.
Thanks for
wonderful.
Jai Jinendra Prabhaji.
Jai Jinesh.
Jai Jinendra.
आनंदी शुद्ध स्वरूपी अविनाशी हूँ आत्म स्वरूप सहजानंदी शुद्ध स्वरूप अविनाशी हूँ आत्म स्वरूप सहजानंदी शुद्ध स्वरूप अविनाशी हूँ आत्म स्वरूप निज निधि निज में बताई यह अनंत उपकार है इसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना शत बार है वंदना शत बार है जय जिनेन्द्र
Jai
everyone.
Jinendra.
Thank you.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Janendra.
Jai Jinendra.